I am not preaching, so what are we studying today?
Jeff was here first.
Well, you set it up. There we go. I mean, I'm preaching on Luke, but I'm more than willing to study whatever anyone else wants to study.
Yeah, Luke works. You think so, Dave?
I'm sorry I didn't do that.
Luke, the gospel for Christ the King?
Okay.
That work?
All right, does everyone see the Lugger screen now?
Well, I sure do.
Okay, now I do. Now I see Dave. Now I see the logos.
I think, Dave, that you are in charge of making me the presenter. That would stop it from switching back and forth when you talk.
Got it. You are now the presenter.
What do you say, Jeff? Are you looking at me or are you looking at whoever's talking?
I see the logo screen.
Okay. Okay. Looks like I don't have any saved notes on this. Well, off we go. You're still in charge, Dave.
Luke what? 23?
No, 35 to 43.
All right, Aaron, you go first.
All right, then. Oh, Kai estate Kai alone. Exemnictaridson decai boy arcantus legantus alus esosen sosato heoton I hutus estin Christus tu theu eclectus. The people stood wondering. Well, yeah, watching, but that's watching with amazement. Is that what I call it? Isn't that the one? Watching with amazement? Pretty sure. Yeah, I don't know that word's here, but I'll take Yanni's word for it. They sneered, and also the rulers said, "He saved others. Let him save himself, if this one is the Christ of God, the chosen one."
Well, at least we finally have them calling him Christ in one sense.
So what did Paul say? Whether for good reasons or bad, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully you guys can just get your screen covered in messages. That's not a problem, is it? A bunch of messages just popped up on my screen, but I'm presenting just the Lugger screen, right?
Yeah. That's all I see.
All right, cool. Sorry, that's distracting. It seems simple enough, though. I seem to recall there's a lot of this Decai, which gives that distinct impression of the mockery just being built up over and over and over again. It's just written with a flow like that. And people mock, and then it just keeps getting worse. And on top of that, the rulers were saying, and I could see another Decai in verse 36. On top of that, the soldiers mocked him. And then again in verse 38. And on top of that, there was notice above him that said, "King of the Jews." I just remember that from my sermon. The way it flows is insult upon insult. You guys are so quiet.
It is interesting that it's the archontes, the rulers, the leaders, who start going with this sneering, this ridicule, and such. I mean, wouldn't we think that it's the rulers and the leaders who should be the best behaved, who should be the models of propriety? And it's certainly the calls that are out there now. Oh, if somebody's misbehaving publicly, then the opponents call upon the leaders to chastise them and set a better example.
Yeah.
And yet here, the rulers are the ones setting the really bad example.
Sounds like,
because it's just.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just going to say, because verse 35 starts off just talking about the people watching, standing there, but then it goes into, okay, well, who's doing the sneering, who's doing the ridiculing, and it's the leaders.
It's a very rare word. Only Luke uses it. The sneering.
Mm-hmm. The sound seems to fit the meaning.
McDavidson. McDavidson. It sounds kind of spitty.
Mm-hmm.
It apparently has something to do with nostrils. It's sense the word sneer. Oh, and it's imperfect. I don't think I translated it that way. They were sneering. Well, I think I'm done with that one. Anyone else? Did we lose Dave?
No, I'm still here.
Oh, okay. You're still broken up. I had that problem when I was hosting it too sometimes. Right?
Yeah, I think the person who's hosting should just not talk, and then everyone else can talk and we can understand. Hey, that sounds like a great idea.
Sorry, couldn't hear you there.
Break it up, man. Okay, I took my turn. Who's got 36?
Oh, I guess I'll jump in. Enapixon de auto kai hoi stratiotai prosercomenoi oxos prosferontis auto. Let's see. And the soldiers coming near mocked him. Offering him sour wine vinegar, something sour and from the fruit of the vine.
I think this is a more common word for mock. 13 times across all the Gospels. Not John, sorry, across the Synoptics. Just wondering if it's all, and it all has to do with passion. Oh, except for Matthew 2.
That's an interesting use.
Yeah. Mocked by the Magi. Huh. Make sport. Is in light of? Should be received. Yeah, like makes me think of like when people play tricks on the class nerd, they just have no respect for him. I'm guessing that's the connection for all the thoughts in there. Which would be rather insulting to Herod.
Yeah.
He just ignored what Herod said. That's very disrespectful.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that that's what was their intention, just that that's how Herod perceived it.
Right, right. He would feel put upon and disrespected. And adding to that concept of the things building up, and the soldiers, they kept coming up to him. And mocking.
Yeah.
And the way this is structured, correct me if I'm wrong, but we talk about the wine vinegar as a sedative, and that's why Jesus refuses it at first. But doesn't this sentence kind of set it up as part of the mockery too?
I don't think it's the sedative.
Oh, that's right. That's the gall.
Yeah.
The gall, right. So, but don't you guys also get the impression that this is part of the mocking?
Yeah.
Somehow the wine is part of the mocking.
Yeah, kind of like, oh, I bet you're thirsty. Oh, you want something to drink? We got some really nice oxos here. That.
So it's false offer, you think?
Well, I think in connection with 37, they're saying, save yourself, and they're ridiculing him. He can't even get something to drink.
Yeah.
So how is he going to be able to save himself?
I mean, by creating another sentence out of it, the NIV kind of loses that. And loses that whole feel of the flow, the way Luke wrote it, of the mockery building up and building up and building up. It's all the same thought.
Mm-hmm. Verse 37. Do that. Hey, yeah, I'll do that. Kai legantes I su I bazalois to Judaion, the one Zalkan, and saying, if you are king of the Jews, save yourself.
Did you purposely save that one for yourself?
I did.
The constant presence in imperfects really add to the bitterness.
Mm-hmm.
Luke
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Luke likes imperfects anyway, though, doesn't he? He's the one who likes imperfects? I think so. No. Still, he doesn't use them all the time. It's still for purpose.
Okay, this is weird. It was just playing back.
Do you have the YouTube channel open in one of your tabs?
Let me.
You should just have your Google Hangouts open. Close the YouTube tab.
Okay, if that was me, I fixed it.
Okay.
If it wasn't, then I don't know what was going on. So
I couldn't even hear it.
okay.
I'll take 38 as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
generous.
Anything else? Yes. Yeah. Ein Dekai, Epigraphe, Epioto, Basilois, Ton, Udoi, Ton, Utus. And there was also an inscription upon him or above him, the King of the Jews. Let's see, let's get my definite articles right here. The King of the Jews. This is Hutus. This is the King of the Jews.
And that also is a mockery. It's so it's not Luke where the readers complain about the sign.
And this is just really hard to be thinking about this stuff in fall. You ask me these questions in the middle of Lent, and I'm ready to go. But now it's just fun and fun. Maybe I'm the only one that feels that way.
I'm sorry, I'm not catching all of that.
Oh, I'm just saying it just seems to me like the wrong time of year to be talking about this kind of stuff.
Oh yes.
Oh, right. Perfect for Christ the King, man. That was always my favorite thing. You know, just being the text for Christ the King. And it was just awesome. You could choose, you know, so many other approaches to Christ the King Sunday, especially given the context of it, that it's, you know, Jesus coming as King and no one can deny him as King. But always with this in mind, always in this context.
I guess fitting with that, just a comment about the verses that we've looked at so far. It's fascinating how the Holy Spirit has managed to concentrate so much Christology into these verses, and it's all in the mouths and the hands of Christ's enemies.
Yeah.
You know, it's okay. He's the Christ. He's of God. He's the chosen one. He's the King of the Jews, and that repeated twice. Oh yeah, and it's all about saving.
Yeah.
And you know what else? That also very clearly demonstrates how well everyone at that time understood what was going on. There was no confusion about what Jesus was saying when he called himself the Son of Man, and when he said, you know, you'll see me coming with the clouds. You know, they knew exactly what he was saying. These prophecies, you know, they may be strange to us. We may not think about them a lot, but they think about them all the time. They can say this and the crowd gets the joke. Even though they're the experts in the word, the crowd gets this too. It's a public mockery.
And to answer your question, Aaron, it's in John 19 where the elders said, just right that he claimed to be the King of the Jews.
It makes sense. There's a lot more focus on Pilate there and his relationship with the people. Yeah, so from Luke's perspective, he describes this as a mockery of Jesus. And Pilate makes it clear, and John as well, as far as Pilate is concerned, as the governing Gentile ruler, it's a mockery of all of them.
Hey guys, this is Adam Gall. I've been
Adam!
I've been lurking. Just wanted to throw in a couple thoughts. One is just looking in the references in BDAG under Mach, and notice that a couple of them are in Jesus telling the disciples what will happen to him in the future when he is arrested and crucified during Holy Week. And just interesting that, he does also mention in a couple of those verses that he will be mocked and insulted, spit on. So, I think when I think of, the times when Jesus predicted his death, it often comes to mind that, he said he would be arrested and taken before, the leaders of the people and beaten and put to death and then rise again. But I guess I was forgetting that he also predicted that he would be mocked and insulted in this way. So,
that's a good point, Adam. It makes me remember how often in my head when Jesus predicts his own death, it sounds powerful to me. As, as somebody living after the resurrection, because he's predicting it in such detail. But you think how often something is described, but it's totally different when you live through it. And for Jesus to talk about being mocked, think of how hard it is when you're in the right, and for whatever reason, you got to keep your mouth closed and just let the insults come. And who could be more right in the history of the human race than Jesus right now? And how hard must it have been? And he's doing his job, and it's hard for him, of course. But for those who are watching on, to see their God blasphemed like this, and to do and say nothing. I think it's a really important part. I'm glad you focused on that, because that really means a lot.
another thing I wanted to throw in there is just don't know if you guys saw the variant. That's
Did not look at that.
Some variants add the languages that the sign was written, or the inscription was written in.
Oh.
But the UPS gives it an A rating without the languages.
Shoot, I used to have my variant reading text up here when we were doing this before, and I must have lost it at some point. And that's 38 now. That was the soundless. I see.
So, Adam, you want to take verse 39?
Yeah, just in time, Adam.
Sure. Isde ton cremastenton kakurgon evlasphemi avton legon. Uhisu I o Christos soson selton ke imas. One of the cremastenton, one of the ones hanging, criminals who were hung. Slandered him, saying, It's not Uki. Are you not the Christ? Save yourself and us.
You guys blaspheme on that, or take it in everyday sense?
Just looking at a comparison of translations on that, it's like no one translates that with the same word. I've got hurled insults at, railed on, blasphemed, kept deriding, railed at, reviled, scoffed, and was hurling abuse at. Only one or two of them really pick up the imperfect, which is interesting.
Slander is a plenty common enough thing, and blasphemy obviously reserved for when it's slander against God. But I seem to recall, and just going off memory here, from word studies of the word in the past, that it's got, the kind of built-in thought is make light of something you shouldn't make light of. I wish I could tell you why I came to that conclusion, but I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Is the fact that it's a blasphemy because that's exactly what Jesus is doing, is saving the world, and for him to say, save us, it would be saying, well, what he is doing isn't doing what God has prophesied to be doing. So that would be a blasphemy.
Yeah, it sure would. I guess the question is, by choosing that word there, would Luke make the reader, who was an everyday Greek-speaking person, think blasphemy the way we think of blasphemy? Because we reserve that for God, but as a word, it wasn't reserved in their language for God, but it was nonetheless their word for blasphemy. So was Luke intending to say to his audience, this really is a blasphemy? Or is this just an appropriate word at the time to use for them insulting him, making light of him? I know I've pointed it out in sermons before. I don't think I've ever put undue weight on it. But I've always wondered if that was something that anyone else had dealt with. Just me?
It's a good question.
I'm just looking in BDAG at the entry for blasphemia, the noun for blasphemy, and it looks like most of the biblical usage for that one is the gamma entry there, God and what is God's, even though it is used of humans and the devil as well. So it seems like at least the biblical usage, the noun blasphemy is a little bit more reserved for sins against God.
This may sound like it's, trying to ride the fence, but this may be one of those cases where kind of the two meanings of a word are both right,
Sure.
because from our perspective and from Luke's perspective, this is blasphemy. He's blaspheming God. He's blaspheming the one who actually came to save, as Dave was pointing out. But from that guy's perspective, it wasn't blasphemy. He was just hurling insults. He was just scoffing at this this pretender that was being crucified next to him. So there was no intention of blasphemy on his part, even though we know that's what it actually was.
Sure. Well, I don't think the thought has to derail continuing on, but I think you're right that it's, there is at least a possibility of double meaning there, and often how often isn't that really the case?
Mhm.
And the words are chosen for a reason. There are obviously multiple words for mock because there's multiple words used here in
Yeah.
this section. So there's a reason it sits here, and you can take into account everything that goes with it. You have to decide how you preach it in the end, I suppose.
I suppose we could, if we wanted to go really deep here, we could, go back to what you were saying at the beginning about how things are kind of, steadily ramping or ratcheting up as, the mockery and everything
Yeah.
like this. We're there's the increase, from just kind of, general ridiculing and sneering to mockery to, and now it's ratcheted up one more level to actual blasphemy.
And by the cockroach bone,
Yeah.
that's insulting. Even the criminal, man, the evildoer next to him, even joins in the insult.
There is an interesting, I mean, he's an interesting character, and this illustrates really what sin and evil, are like and do. And certainly we wouldn't want to leave ourselves out, but it's how, at the one point in this guy's life where he should be completely humbled, he should be completely aware of his own sinfulness and, pleading for every little scrap of mercy that he could, find anywhere. Still, he feels the best thing for him to do is to lash out against somebody else to make himself feel better.
Yeah. Self-righteousness is a very powerful reflex in us. Well, shall I go on then? I think I'm up, aren't I?
Yep.
Apokryphais da heteros epitemon auto Efe udaphobe zeton theon efe ento auto cremata I. But answering him, the other one rebuked him. He said, and don't you fear God because you are under the same condemnation? And I'll go with judgment. Have to agree with them. There's even more condemnation.
Can't help but wonder if these guys knew each other before.
Yeah, I wonder that too. I also wonder when, okay, so we're coming to what he says to Jesus, how the exchange goes, but I can't help but wonder what was going through the criminal's mind on Jesus' right, and whether or not it's possible he might have recognized some of the scene from Psalm 22, since that was sung in the churches, and he may have heard it before, and how it might have been striking to him. Because, what would he have heard from Jesus? Maybe he heard a sermon at some point in the past, but obviously, Jesus has only been preaching for 3 years. And this guy has been a criminal recently. So it kind of gives me the impression that if he ever heard Jesus, it was not something he ever sat down and listened to Jesus and then went out to get the crown and got crucified. Possible, but I tend not to think that way. I tend to think, like we were talking about the guy on Jesus' left, and he's doing what comes natural, that we just lay into people to help ourselves feel better. But not this guy. This guy's already been humble. And I can't help but wonder what word of God is sticking in his mind that brought him this genuine humility, since Jesus has not said a word.
I like what Jeff was saying before. All the enemies of Christ are giving such a faithful witness as to who he is and what he is doing. I can't help but wonder if he wasn't just listening to all these people ridiculing him, seeing Jesus being the way that he was, and wondering there is something more to this guy. And maybe it would be ironic that the very words that are used to mock Jesus and blaspheme him would be the words that would create and or strengthen faith.
And what proof of the strength of the word?
Yeah, it's good, really good thought there.
I think it's interesting how this criminal uses a question to rebut the other guy who used a question to mock Jesus. It's interesting rhetorical devices there.
Mhm.
Oh, real consistent with epitomao as well, since that's has the idea of putting somebody in their place. The idea of honor is in there.
Yeah.
You kind of put upon them the honor that should have been there. The honor that they're missing. You shouldn't be like that because you're not treating the situation properly. You're not giving it the honor it's due. Put it on them. Yeah, answer a fool according to his folly.
Okay, shall I take the next verse?
Seems like a good move.
Okay. Kai himais men dekaios axia gar hon eproximen apolambanomen hutos de uden atopon eproxen. And we indeed justly, referring to being under judgment, for, let's see, worthy being, let's see, what we did, for we are receiving what is worthy of what we did. But this one has done nothing or did nothing evil. This is one that the aorists are instructive, but normal English wants us to put into perfects.
Stating it plainly.
Yeah.
This is just the fact. I guess that English is different that way because the imperfect can actually be more of a fact statement. And you can choose a longer form of the verb in English just for the sake of being emphatic.
Mm-hmm.
Did do, has done.
I guess the apolambanomen is kind of interesting that it's not just lambano. It's not just we're getting. It's not just we're receiving, but it's we're receiving back. He's reflecting that. Yeah, again, it's kind of a double admission of their responsibility.
It's used for receiving an inheritance. Repaid, reward. not the word for wage. What is the word they use for when you get your wages? It is a yeah, okay. Let's see, take away. I'm not sure which one of these is going to be very much. That one? Not sure. I'll use up all your time looking for it. Seems like it's another compound though. Apodidemy? That's what I'm thinking of? And make a payment? Yeah, and then antapodidomy, pay something back as a result of an incurred obligation. That's what I'm thinking of, but I'm not sure how instructive it is.
Okay.
I was hoping it'd be more interesting than that. Sorry. Not so much the wages. It sounds like it has more to do with justice than earning a wage or earning a reward. Like I said, it's kind of instructive, but kind of what you would have thought in the first place.
I know this distinction is sometimes overdone, but the use of the verb proso there, which again tends to have a bit more of a sense of the kind of the habitual action, the practice, rather than necessarily just the the one time doing of something.
Right. It's more about how one acted. The way he says is more about how one acted in their life in general versus having been caught in a particular crime.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting the word that he uses to describe, what Jesus has not done. It's a really weak word. I mean, he's not done anything that's out of place, nothing improper. I mean, he's not even saying he hasn't done anything that bad. He isn't that evil. I mean, it's just like there's nothing he's done that even comes close to the idea of being bad.
Unlike the kings of this earth. I think about Jeremiah 23. God looks at the shepherds of this world and realizes none of them do it right. He's going to have to raise up his own righteous branch to do what's right. And that's this guy. Nothing out of place. Everything done right. And this is how he's prayed for it. That's what I think.
All right, verse 42. Yeah?
Am I
Hear
up?
me?
Oh, Dave's up.
I'm up.
Okay.
Kai Elogen Jesus Maze Ati Mui Atan Elface Ice Pain Vasilian Tu. And he said, Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. So he'd get the idea of kingdom from the board above his head, which said Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews. And he's actually asking Jesus to save him. I guess there's a... I don't know how far you want to take the play on his word, Jesus, where the angels said, well, you're going to Joseph, you're going to name him Jesus because he will save the people from their sins. Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. Somebody cut. Oh, Aaron cut out. Okay.
Sorry, I have a child asking me for help with their homework.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, it's a lot quieter now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Must have a fuzzy line or something. Yeah, I was just thinking about Jesus because the name Jesus hasn't been mentioned in a while, at least in Luke. So
Really?
yeah, because the sign in Luke just says, "This is the King of the Jews."
Yeah.
So I mean, this guy, was being observant and picked up on, maybe, did he know him? Had he seen him before, or had he just heard people using that name at this time?
If I recall correctly, the other Gospels do indicate that Jesus of Nazareth was on the sign.
Right.
All right. Well, that and this was the big thing happening in Jerusalem right now. I suspect they had already talked about Jesus with anyone and everyone, the jailers and the crowd shouting at him. And they're on the march too, but it sounds like they didn't get nearly as much attention as Jesus did. And they were mad at Jesus. And they were just common criminals. You made me think of Acts. Haven't you heard about the things that went on in Jerusalem?
And of course, Matthew records for us that both robbers mocked him at one point.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that was the other thing. When I brought up that about the guy in his right, being so humble now. I had forgotten that, but I had tried to piece together that timeline in my head before. When exactly did the other criminal? You can't answer this question obviously, but it does make you think. What had to happen to Jesus before this guy started to get close about what was going on? And again, maybe those were good mockers that were appropriately and ironically true.
I also liked how the guy said, when you come, the acknowledgement that Jesus' kingdom is not of this world.
Mm-hmm.
And that he's so sure he's going to do it.
Mm-hmm. That the acknowledgement that there's something bigger happening than what everybody sees. Everybody sees a loser, but there's something bigger happening here that they're not seeing, that he at least acknowledges in faith, knowing that this person hanging there can actually save him.
The verb remember, Leonida is suggesting that it's not just the calling to mind, but it also includes a response to what is remembered. I'd have to dig in a little deeper to see where all that's coming from, but that it does help explain it, because it's definitely not this criminal saying, Jesus, when you get to your kingdom, give me a thought.
Yeah.
Drink a
Right.
toast in my name.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how Greek it is, but certainly in Hebrew, the zakar, when God remembered the ark, it wasn't like a few months have gone by, like, oh yeah, right, there's an ark down there. I forgot about
Yeah.
that. It was that the word marks when he acted according to his promise. He knew what was going on down there. He knew what he promised, and on the day that they saw him acting, the same thing in Exodus. Uh, that day is described as the day of his remembrance. But I don't know about Greek, if that's same for Greek, or if it's just because these people are of a Semitic mindset. Who talk that way. Luke, of course, is Gentile and is his approach. Maybe you should be recording these words exactly, and this guy's not Greek. But yeah, I think we can all agree in the end. Not just think about me one day, students.
There is a variant on this on kingdom or your kingdom. So it looks like just D and whatever it D is that italic or Italian? Has on the day of your coming, looks like. Remember me on the day of your coming. It's not very well attested, but kind of interesting.
Oh, wow. I even have it listed. Yeah, he's buried. Adam, are you up now?
What's that?
Is Adam up to the lesson?
Oh, yep, 43. Okay. Και είπεν αυτό, αμέν σου λέγω, σήμερον μετεμού esse εν to paradiso. And he said to him, truly I say to you, today with me you will be in paradise.
One of the things I was wondering with the previous verse is what exactly did the thief understand or mean when he said, when you come into your kingdom? Or, is he thinking, when you get to heaven? Is he thinking when you return in glory at the end of all things? When exactly is he looking to be remembered? And how much would he have understood? But here, Jesus, he leads with Semeron, today, you'll be with me.
Given that we tend to think of a place with boundaries when we think kingdom, but as I understand it anyway, not as much. When you look the Hebrew language, they tend to think the act of ruling, more so than the territory.
Mm-hmm.
It's where your influence reaches. Perhaps he's just thinking that he knows from whatever source he's drawing his thoughts from that brought him into humility here. He knows that Jesus doesn't suffer because he's lost. It's part of his act of salvation. So perhaps you just use, when you're all done with this, pick your rightful place. This is not your rightful place. You don't deserve to be on a clock because of your trying.
Sorry, could you say that again?
Maybe he's just thinking because he knows that the suffering servant, the passage he's thinking of, not necessarily Israel, but because he knows that the suffering servant only suffers for a while and sits on the throne forever.
Mm-hmm.
He's thinking in terms of, I know this is not your rightful place, but I know you will sit on that throne. I know that you will do this for a while, and then you will come into your kingdom. Then you will come into your ruling. You will begin to rule over all of us, whereas right now you suffer under the weight of our sins. I've gone to overly specific, and who knows exactly how much he knows in the words he might use, but maybe it's not necessarily the long-term idea of the kingdom so much as just the end of what he's going through now. Maybe really nervous when you don't get quiet after I say something. What kind of nuttiness is this guy finding?
We're pondering.
Pondering, that's right, pondering. Yeah. By the way, speaking of pondering, thanks, Dave, for putting this together. I missed it.
You are not the only one that missed it.
Nice to sit and ponder the text.
Yeah.
On a Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah, we are go for next Tuesday, guys. Tuesday seems to work better for you.
Definitely for me.
Oh, I will not. I can't. Shoot. But, that's just one.
Adam, Tuesday.
Should be as good a day as any. So we'll just see how things go. But yes, I do appreciate being able to glean from you guys. So thank you.
No, from you.
Yeah.
Way to keep pulling out the variants.
Yeah.
I have so much fun with the word study, but I forget to go back and check to see if that's the word and what you said.
All right, brothers. We'll see you next week then.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Blessings.